She played with the Mafia boss's deadly beast like a puppy. What happened next shocked him. I wasn't supposed to survive the first 60 seconds. The hood came off, and I was already on my feet, bare feet on cold, wet stone, rain falling in cold needles through an open-sky courtyard ringed by iron balconies. 4 men above me, guns I couldn't see but could feel. That particular pressure a weapon puts on the air when it's aimed at the back of your skull. My dress, silk, the color of wine spilled at a funeral, was soaked to the skin. My wrists burned from the zip ties they'd cut in the car. My heart did the thing it does when the body understands danger before the mind catches up. It went very, very quiet. Then I heard the chain, a scrape of iron on stone, heavy, deliberate. And underneath it, a sound that was not quite a growl, more like the memory of violence, like thunder deciding whether or not to bother. I turned my head slowly. He was standing at the far end of the courtyard beneath a stone arch carved with a bird of prey, a cane corso the color of burnt midnight, chest wide enough to park a car against, ears cropped close, muzzle crosshatched with old scars. 180 pounds of animal that had decided I was the most interesting thing in the room. His eyes were the color of old gold coins. They didn't blink. The chain, thick as my wrist, bolted somewhere I couldn't see, ran taut from a collar at his throat. "Don't move." One of the guards above me, voice tight. "Don't make a sound. Don't look at him. Don't." I looked at him. Not because I was brave. I want to be precise about this. I was terrified. The kind of terror that hollows you out and leaves something very still in the middle of the emptiness. But I was also a woman who had spent 8 years learning how to be still inside a storm. And this enormous animal who smelled like rain and old blood and something unexpectedly clean. This I understood. I tilted my head. The same angle I use when I'm listening to a piece of music that hasn't decided what it wants to be yet. "Hey, big guy," I said, very soft. The way you talk to something that has forgotten it was ever gentle. "You look like you haven't had a kind hand in years." The courtyard went so silent I could hear every separate raindrop hitting the stone. Cerbero, because I didn't know his name yet, but I would learn it was the only name that fit, took 1 step. The chain scraped. Someone on the balcony sucked in a breath. The beast's nostrils flared, reading me. Rain, fear, jasmine, old sheet music. Whatever he found there, he decided it wasn't a threat. Another step. I lifted my hands, slow, the way you move near a live wire, and when the massive, scarred head lowered itself to my level, I ran my fingertips along the ridge of his muzzle. The first touch was the worst, the moment where everything could have ended. Instead, under my palm, I felt the muscle behind his jaw release. A long, slow exhale. Then a sound, low, rumbling, that was not a growl. Something older. Something that hadn't been heard in this courtyard in a very long time. He was purring. One of the guards actually said, "What the?" And then Cerbero dropped. 180 pounds of organized violence collapsed onto the wet stone at my feet, rolled sideways, and showed me the pale fur of his belly. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out breathless and slightly hysterical, and I knelt in the rain and scratched his stomach with both hands while the guards on the balcony forgot entirely that they were supposed to be pointing guns at me. That was when I heard the French doors open. The sound was deliberate. A man who moves like he owns every surface he walks on doesn't announce himself with noise. He announces himself with a change in pressure, the way a room reorganizes itself around a gravitational center. I felt him before I saw him. I looked up. He stood at the top of 3 stone steps, rain flattening black hair against a face that had no business existing in the same world as the rest of us. Silk shirt, white, open at the throat and darkening with rain at the shoulders. A glass of whiskey held loosely in one hand. Winter gray eyes that swept the courtyard, found Cerbero, found me, and stopped. The glass went very still in his hand. I watched something move through his expression that he clearly had no practice controlling, because men like him never needed to. It wasn't anger. It wasn't confusion, exactly. It was the look of a man who has stepped outside to find the laws of physics have quietly rearranged themselves while he was indoors. He descended the steps. 3 strides and he was close enough that I could smell him. Cedar and something sharper, expensive, a scent that belonged in a room full of weapons and old money. He looked down at me kneeling in the rain with his death dog's head in my lap, and his voice, when it came, was very low and very dangerous and completely level. "Who the hell are you?" Cerbero's tail, thick as a man's wrist, thumped twice against the stone. I met those winter gray eyes and said, "Someone who's clearly better at making friends than your men are at kidnapping." The silence that followed lasted exactly 4 seconds. I counted. Then Don Lucian Vespera reached into the breast pocket of his shirt, produced a small folding knife, and held it out, handle first. "Your wrists," he said. I looked at the knife, looked at him, took it, cut the last remnant of the zip tie from my left wrist, and handed it back without breaking eye contact. He hadn't decided what to do with me yet. I could see it. That rare moment when a man who always knows what comes next finds himself genuinely uncertain. It was a weapon. I filed it away. "You're not leaving," he said. Cerbero licked my wrist. "Then you'd better feed me, Don Vespera," I said. "Your dog has better manners than you do." He looked at me for a long moment with those gray eyes that had ordered men to their deaths the way other men order coffee. Then, barely, one corner of his mouth moved. That was the beginning. That small, reluctant, terrifying movement. That was the spark. And what I didn't tell him, what I couldn't tell him yet, was that I had not stumbled into his courtyard by accident, that I had been building toward this night for 8 years, that the soft hands scratching his dog's belly had spent the last decade learning how to reach into the heart of the Vespera Empire and burn it down quietly, from the inside out. I had come here with a plan. I just hadn't planned on Cerbero. I hadn't planned on him. If you're already in the dark with me, a quiet subscribe keeps the shadows coming. Now stay close, because what happens next is where everything begins to unravel. They gave me a room, not a cell. That distinction mattered, though only barely. The room was on the 3rd floor of the Vespera estate, a pre-war Upper East Side townhouse that had been reinforced from the bones outward. The windows didn't open past 2 inches, the door locked from the outside, and the beautiful Persian rug over the hardwood hid what I was fairly certain was a concrete subfloor. But there were fresh flowers on the writing desk, white lilies which someone had chosen either by accident or with a very dark sense of irony, and the bed had linen sheets that cost more than my rent. They also gave me clothes. A dress I hadn't chosen, in a color I would have chosen, deep green, long, fluid, and soft leather flats that fit perfectly, which meant someone had checked my shoe size before delivering me here, which meant none of this was as improvised as it looked. I stood at the window in the dark and looked out at the rain-soaked street and tried to decide whether knowing that made things better or worse. Let me tell you what I was carrying. The weight a woman accumulates when she has been building toward something for 8 years. My name is Aurelia Castellani. My father was Emilio Castellani, quiet man, small man, the kind of person who moved through rooms without leaving footprints. He kept books, columns of numbers, ledgers, the financial pulse of an empire. For 6 years, he was the Vespera family's most trusted accountant, the man who made their money invisible and their sins undiscoverable. He was also the man Marco Bellini framed for skimming. A fabricated ledger, a false transfer record, a story told with such careful detail that even old Don Vespera, Lucian's father, believed it before he had the evidence checked. My father was executed on a Tuesday evening in the dining room of this very house. I know because the housekeeper, a woman named Rosaria, who owed my mother a debt older than either of them, told me years later. He was shot twice. He did not beg. I was 17. I spent the years after learning. Not vengeance in the crude, blood-drunk way. I had no interest in dying for the satisfaction of shooting Marco Bellini in the face, however much the image comforted me on bad nights. I wanted something that would last. I wanted the kind of destruction that doesn't announce itself until it's already done. I studied music, piano, my father's gift to me, the only thing I'd inherited besides his eyes and his stubbornness. I also studied art appraisal, which turned out to be the perfect cover for a woman who needed to move through the spaces where old money and older crime intersect. I had spent 3 years quietly, carefully documenting the Vespera family's art holdings, pieces used as collateral in deals, pieces funneled through legitimate auction houses to clean money, pieces that connected the family to transactions no court had ever seen. My ledger was not Emilio Castellani's false ledger. Mine was real.
And I had been working toward the moment I could deliver it to the right hands, federal or perhaps something more surgical, when Marco Bellini's idiots had grabbed me off the street and dropped me into the mouth of the lion. I pressed my forehead against the cool glass. The thing about a plan that takes 8 years to build is that it becomes load-bearing. You organize your entire life around the weight of it. You don't make close friends because close friends ask questions. You don't fall in love because love makes you soft in places you cannot afford to be soft. You become, slowly and without noticing, a woman made almost entirely of purpose and very little else. Standing in that room, in clothes I hadn't chosen, in a house where Emilio Castellani had breathed his last breath, I had never felt more alone or more ready. What I had not accounted for was the dog. What I had not accounted for was the man. A knock at the door. Not a guard's knock. Those had a particular flat authority to them. This was different. 2 sharp raps, and then the door opened before I could answer, and Lucian Vespera filled the frame. He changed. Dry shirt now, dark, the top button undone. He held a glass of something amber-colored and looked at me the way you look at a puzzle that arrived without the box. "You're not afraid," he said. It wasn't a compliment. It sounded more like a problem he was trying to categorize. "I'm afraid," I said. "I'm just not performing it for your benefit." Something moved in his face. He stepped inside, uninvited because he was a man to whom the concept of uninvited simply did not apply, and set the glass on the desk near the lilies. He looked at the flowers, then at me. "Lilies," I said. "Very festive for a kidnapping." "A mistake," he said. "You weren't the intended guest." "I know. The man you wanted is Tomas Ferreira. He owes you money." I watched his expression sharpen. I let him wonder how I knew. "He's currently in Lisbon. Been there for 6 days. Your men grabbed the wrong woman because they were working from a surveillance photo taken outside a bar we both frequent."
Same exit, different lives. Lucian studied me. "You're going to tell me who you are," he said. "I told you in the courtyard. Your name." Aurelia Castellani. I watched for it, the flicker of recognition, the cross-check his mind would do against everything it had stored. I saw the moment it landed. Not the name itself, perhaps, but the lineage, the faint echo of a dead accountant. His jaw went very still. "Emilio's daughter," he said. "Yes." The silence between us changed temperature. It had been cold before. Now it was something else, thicker, more complicated. I watched him recalibrate, watched him choose his next words with the precision of a man who understands that language is just violence at a lower volume. "You should have told them who you were. I wanted to see where you'd put me first." He looked at me for a long time. Then, and I didn't expect this, he picked up the glass of whiskey from the desk and held it out to me. I took it, drank. "In the morning," he said, "we'll talk properly. Until then, stay in the room. A beat. Please." That last word cost him something. I could hear the price of it. He left, the door locked. I sat on the edge of the bed and turned the glass in my hands and told myself very firmly that the fact he'd said please meant absolutely nothing. Cerbero scratched at the door from the outside. Once, twice, then nothing. Just the rain. Morning in the Vespera house arrived like a formal announcement. A maid with coffee, a plate of things I had no appetite for, and a message delivered with the particular neutrality of someone who has learned not to editorialize. "Don Vespera will see you in the study, when you're ready." That "when you're ready" was doing a great deal of work. It implied choice. It was the kind of thing you say when you're very good at making the absence of choice feel like courtesy. I drank the coffee. It was extraordinary. Dark, barely sweet, the kind that costs money and tastes like someone cared about every step of making it. Even that was information. A man who insists on good coffee insists on good everything. He has standards where other men have appetites. He is harder to manipulate than the hungry ones. I dressed. Green dress, leather flats, hair pinned back the way I do when I need to feel armored. Then I followed the maid down 2 flights of stairs to a study at the rear of the house. Dark bookshelves floor to ceiling, a desk that had clearly been in the family longer than the current Dawn, 2 chairs positioned across from it with an intimacy that felt studied. Lucian was already there, standing at the window with his back to me, looking at the garden below. He let me enter, let me take stock of the room before he turned. He was carrying a file. He set it on the desk between us and let it land with the particular weight of a conversation ender. Then he sat and gestured to the chair across and waited. I sat. I opened the file. Inside was my life, not the version I performed, the real one. My apartment, my work history, my 3 active clients at the gallery where I consulted, a photograph of the storage unit in Red Hook where I kept the research materials I couldn't risk at home, a photograph of my mother's nursing facility in Connecticut, the one I visited on the 2nd Saturday of every month, the one I paid for quietly and expensively. I closed the file, kept my face neutral with a composure that I want to credit to discipline, though fear was doing an equal amount of the work. "Your mother's facility," Lucian said. "The cost increased last quarter. The new wing." "Yes." "You manage it." "Yes." "With the consulting income." "And other things." He looked at me. I looked back. Neither of us pretended this was small talk. "The storage unit," he said. What about it? I haven't opened it. A pause. Yet. That yet landed exactly where he meant it to. I absorbed it without flinching, which took more from me than I'd like to admit. Tell me what's inside, he said, and we can skip the part where I find out on my own. I considered him, the economy of him, no wasted movement, no performance, no cruelty that wasn't functional. This was a man who had learned very early that excess was a liability. He was offering me a transaction, and underneath the transaction was something older and more complicated, and I think we both knew it. Art documentation, I said carefully. Provenance records, purchase histories, authentication trails. For which pieces? I let the silence breathe for a moment. For pieces that have passed through certain families' collections in the last 20 years. His expression did not change, but something in the room did. Your father, he said, was innocent, as you may have already begun to wonder. The muscle along his jaw moved once. What I know and what I can prove are different things. Yes, I said, I know the difference well. We sat with that between us, the particular terrible symmetry of two people circling the same wound from opposite sides. Then Lucian leaned back, and the posture shifted something, and he said, I have a problem. I waited. Marco Bellini has been moving capital through legitimate auction channels for 14 months. 3 federal inquiries that stalled. My name is adjacent to transactions I did not authorize. Someone is building a case, and building it carefully, using the Vespera name as the primary signature on deals that were Bellini's. I felt the ground shift, slowly. The way tectonic plates move, enormous, barely perceptible, irreversible. You need someone who speaks the language of art and provenance, I said. Someone who can trace the paper trail backward to its real origin. I need someone who already has. He knew. Not everything, but enough. He'd opened the conversation at the right door. I looked down at my hands in my lap. The hands that had spent 8 years building a case against the man sitting 4 feet away from me. The hands that had scratched the ears of his dog and made a monster into a puppy. I'm not your enemy, he said. And then, with a precision that felt surgical, you came here for Bellini. I looked up. So did I, he said. And just like that, the map of everything I thought I understood turned over and showed me its other side. I named my price, not in money, the mother's facility, guaranteed, indefinitely, regardless of what happened to me. And access, to the house, to Bellini's financial records, to whatever Lucian had that I didn't yet. He agreed without a counteroffer. That should have worried me more than it did. Instead, I thought, we're going to burn him together.
And underneath that thought, quieter and more dangerous, I'm not going to be able to hate you the way I planned to. Comment question. When Aurelia scratched Cerbero's belly in the rain, did you immediately know she was going to turn Lucian's world upside down? Or did you think she was done for? Drop your answer below. My new position in the Vespera house had no name. It wasn't prisoner. The locks were off my door by noon. It wasn't guest. The house moved around me with too much awareness for that. I was something the household staff didn't have a word for yet. The woman the Don had seated at his right hand, and Cerbero had adopted, and neither of those things made any sense. Cerbero slept at the foot of my bed that first full night.
He arrived after midnight with no invitation, shoved the door open with his enormous head, circled twice, and dropped with the finality of something that had made a permanent decision. I lay in the dark and listened to him breathe, and told myself this was not comfort. This was an animal following an instinct I didn't understand. But in the dark, with that warm weight at the end of the mattress, I slept for the first time in months without dreaming of my father's dining room. 3 days in, Lucian gave me access to a room off the study, a second library, smaller, map-walled, smelling of old paper and something metallic I eventually identified as gun oil. On the central table, a stack of files that took me 4 hours to begin to understand, and another full day to map completely. Bellini's paper trail was elegant in the way a trap is elegant, simple from above, lethal from inside. He had spent 5 years threading Vespera money through a network of shell-held galleries and private collectors, using Lucian's signature authority on deals that were genuinely Lucian's, then sliding his own deals in alongside them at a resolution too fine for a casual review to catch. To the outside eye, the federal eye, the Vespera name was on all of it. To my eye, having spent 3 years building the other half of this map, the seams were visible. "Here," I said to Lucian on the third evening, laying 2 pages side by side on the map table. He stood across from me, sleeves rolled, the focused stillness he carried everywhere intensified into something that felt like a physical force. "This acquisition, the Caravaggio fragment from the Naples estate, this is legitimately yours. This one," I tapped the other page. "Same transaction number, different internal routing code. It's Bellini's. He piggybacks on your authenticity." Lucian was quiet for a long moment. "How long have you been building this?" 3 years active, 8 years total." He looked at me, and this was the look I hadn't prepared for, the one that didn't have threat or calculation in it, the one that was simply human. "Your father taught you to read ledgers like this." "He taught me to love music," I said. "I taught myself the rest." There was a version of that statement that was accusation. I didn't deliver it that way. But it landed anyway between us, and we both looked at it for a moment. "He trusted my father," Lucian said, meaning his own father. "Bellini made him trust him." A pause. Emilio Castellani was not the only person in this house who was deceived. "I know," I said. "That's why you're still alive." It was the boldest thing I'd said since the courtyard. It hung there. Then Cerbero, who had been lying under the table at my feet the entire evening, lifted his great head and put his chin on my knee, and Lucian watched him do it with an expression I couldn't read. "He's never done that with anyone," Lucian said. "Not to me, really. To himself. He recognizes something." "What?" I scratched behind Cerbero's torn ear. "Someone who's been guarding themselves alone for a long time." The silence that followed was not empty. It was full, pressed full, the way a room gets when 2 people are both feeling something they haven't consented to feel, and neither of them is going to be first to name it. Lucian straightened, began rolling his sleeves back down. "You'll need access to Bellini's personal accounts, the ones he thinks I don't know about." "You have them?" "I have someone who can get them." He moved to the door and then stopped. "Enzo will take you to your mother's facility tomorrow, if you want." I hadn't mentioned my mother since the study. He had arranged this without being asked. The quiet, totalizing competence of a man who solves problems as a reflex. It was meant to be generosity. It was also, unmistakably, a form of ownership. He was demonstrating that he could take care of the things that mattered to me. The terrifying part was how much it worked. "Thank you," I said. He nodded once and left. Cerberus stayed. I leaned back in the chair and looked at the ceiling and told myself, "You are not falling for the man who may or may not have signed the order that killed your father. You are here for Bellini. You are here for Emilio Castellani's name." The ceiling had nothing useful to say. Enzo, Ghost Ferraro, they called him, lean and quick-eyed with a blade he wore at the small of his back and a habit of appearing in doorways a half-second before you expected him, drove me to Connecticut the next morning. My mother didn't know me on that visit. Some days she does, some days the fog is too thick. I sat with her for 2 hours and played the small piano in the common room, the one with the sticky G-sharp and the bench that tilts, and she swayed in her chair with her eyes closed, and she was somewhere happy.
Enzo waited in the car the entire time. When I came out, I'd been crying, though I'd repaired it as best I could. He said nothing, just handed me a coffee from the paper bag between the seats and drove. Some kindnesses come from unexpected directions, even the ones you don't fully trust. The collision didn't announce itself. That's what I should have expected. In my experience, the things that unmake you don't arrive with a sound. They arrive in the specific quiet of a house at 2 a.m, when every other person in the building is asleep, and you and one other person are the only 2 things still moving in the dark. I couldn't sleep. I'd found a gap in Bellini's transaction records, a 6-week window 3 years ago where the account activity went quiet in a way that felt deliberate rather than dormant, the kind of silence you construct. I'd been cross-referencing with the documentation I'd kept in my own private files, the ones I'd had Enzo retrieve from the Red Hook storage unit 2 days earlier at Lucian's instruction. The work kept pulling at me. I went downstairs at 2:15 in the search for the good coffee, the kind the kitchen kept in a sealed tin above the espresso machine, and found the study light on. Lucian was at the desk. He wasn't working. He was sitting with a glass of something untouched in front of him and a photograph in his hand, and he had the look of a man who had been somewhere very dark and hadn't entirely found his way back yet. He looked up when I appeared in the doorway. No startle, because he never startled, because men like him have learned that the body's alarm system is a liability. "Couldn't sleep," I said, not a question. "I don't sleep much." He set the photograph face down on the desk with a gesture that closed that subject. "You found something." "A gap. I want to talk it through." He gestured to the chair. I sat, and then, because the night felt like it had already crossed some threshold of formality that made pretense feel silly, I leaned forward and said, "Tell me about Bellini first. Not the financial record, the person. How did your father trust him that completely?" Lucian was quiet for a long moment. "He was there when I was 12, he said at last, when my mother died. He sat with my father every night for a month. He brought food. He handled everything that needed handling. He was reliable, meticulous. He never asked for anything overt." The word overt carried enormous weight in his mouth. He only took things quietly. "Trust built on grief is the most exploitable kind," I said. "Yes." He looked at me. "Your father built your trust on music. And ledgers. He was both." "Tell me about him." No one had asked me that in years. I sat with the question and felt it move through me, the particular ache of being asked to speak the name of something you've been protecting in silence. "He was small," I said, "quiet, the kind of man who nobody noticed in a room, which he thought was a flaw and I always thought was a superpower. He could walk into any space and leave no ripple. He kept his records in pencil, always pencil, so errors could be corrected. He told me once that a man who uses pen on a ledger trusts himself too much. Lucian smiled, small, real, the first one I'd seen that wasn't strategic. He was right. He was almost always right, and it didn't save him. The smile faded. He reached across the desk and picked up the photograph he'd set face down, held it for a moment, then slid it across to me. A young man, 17, maybe 18, dark-haired, thin in the way boys are before they grow into themselves. Standing in a garden, this garden, I recognized the wall, with a large dog pressed against his leg. Not Cerbero, an older animal, similar breed, lighter muzzle. His name was Ombra, Lucian said. He died the same year my mother did. That was a terrible year. Yes. I slid the photograph back. Our fingers overlapped at the edge of the desk. Barely, a second's worth of contact, and neither of us moved immediately. The gap in the records, he said. His voice was different now, lower, without the deliberate control. 6 weeks. You think that's when Bellini moved the primary collateral? I think it's when he moved the documentation that would implicate your name. The assets came later. I withdrew my hand, steadily. I need to see your private correspondence from that period, not the financial records, the written communication, letters, messages, whatever Bellini sent you personally. You're asking for a significant amount of trust. I know. He looked at me in the amber light of the desk lamp, rain beginning again against the windows, Cerbero's breathing audible from somewhere behind the couch where he'd settled himself uninvited. A house at 2 a.m. has a particular honesty to it. The architecture of pretense gets thin. If I'm wrong about you, he began. You're not. I've been wrong before. So have I said. I walked into a kidnapping because I didn't check who was watching the bar exit. I'm correcting my errors in real time. He looked at me for a long time. Then he stood, and because the room was not large and the desk was between us and he came around it rather than across it, we ended up closer than the conversations strictly required. Close enough that the cedar and sharp-edged smell of him was very present. Close enough that when I lifted my face to keep meeting his eyes, the angle was steep and significant. The correspondence, he said, very quiet. In the morning. In the morning, I agreed. Neither of us moved for a moment. Cerbero's tail thumped once against the leg of the couch. Then Lucian stepped back, deliberate, controlled, the retreat of a man who has decided something, and said, very low, "Get some sleep, Aurelia. First name, first time." I walked back upstairs with my pulse doing something I absolutely refused to acknowledge, and I lay in the dark with Cerbero breathing at the foot of the bed, and I looked at the ceiling and said, silently, to my father, wherever he was, "I'm sorry. This is not going the way I planned." The ceiling, as always, said nothing. But somewhere in the dark, I thought I heard him laugh. The correspondence arrived in a locked box that Lucian carried personally. He set it on the map table in the small library without ceremony, produced a key from his watch chain, old-fashioned, deliberate, the kind of gesture that means, I have decided to trust you and is not comfortable with the decision, and left me alone with it. 14 years of private correspondence. Not digital. Bellini had always been careful about that. Handwritten notes, coded with a system that was elegant in its simplicity. Substitution at the sentence level, not the word level, which meant you had to read 3 letters together to catch the meaning shift. My father had taught me this kind of pattern recognition without ever intending to. He called it listening for the wrong note. I found the first wrong note in a letter dated 9 years ago. It was a condolence note, ostensibly, the anniversary of Lucian's mother's death, a year after she'd died. 3 paragraphs of warmth, memory, careful tenderness, and buried in the second paragraph,
in the gap between two unrelated observations about the family's shipping business, the real message. The accountant's file is ready. We should move before the quarterly audit. The arrangement benefits both of us. He absorbs the irregularity, and we absorb nothing. The accountant, my father. I read it twice, 3 times. Not because I didn't understand it. I understood it immediately, the way you understand a fall when the ground comes up. I read it again because there is a difference between knowing your father was murdered and reading the letter in which his murder was arranged. And I needed a moment to let those 2 different weights settle into the same body. Marco Bellini had not acted alone. That was the thing the letter made clear, not just in the line I'd found, but in the agreement it implied. The arrangement benefits both of us. Both. Bellini and someone else. The letter was addressed to Lucian, but not as a sender, as a recipient who was being kept informed of something already in motion, as though Bellini expected Lucian to understand the reference. My hands were completely steady. I noted that with a kind of clinical detachment. I had been waiting for this for 8 years, and my hands were steady, and my mind was cold and clear and moving fast. I spent 4 hours in that room. By the end, I had a complete picture. Bellini had not framed my father to protect himself. He had framed my father to produce a controlled debt, a debt of gratitude, from a new and grieving dawn to the man who had uncovered a betrayal in their ranks. He had made Lucian's father the instrument, then stepped back and allowed the grief and the gratitude to compound. For years, that debt had given him access and authority inside the Vespera organization that no earned position could have provided. It was patient. It was cruel. It was, in its terrible way, brilliant. And it had ended my father's life so that Marco Bellini could spend a decade collecting a debt from a dead man's execution. I gathered the key letters, photographed each one with the phone Lucian had provided, another small trust, another small concession, and then reassembled the box and sat with my back against the shelves and let myself feel it for exactly 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That had always been my rule. Grief is necessary. It is not infinite. When Lucian came back, I was standing at the table, organized and level, the relevant letters separated into a stack. He had help, I said. Lucian crossed to the table, read the top letter. His face did not change, but something deep in it did. The way the ground doesn't change when something moves far below it, but you feel the vibration. He used your father's grief, I said, to build access. Your father never knew what he was authorizing when Emilio was... I stopped, started again. Bellini engineered it so that your father's execution was the final step in constructing Bellini's own position. It was never about the money. Lucian set the letter down. It was about the debt, he said. Yes, my debt. To him. Yes. He was quiet for a very long moment. Outside, the city moved. Distant traffic, a siren somewhere, the Hudson running its old dark course. In here, stillness. Aurelia. Yes. What I said in the study, the first morning, about knowing and proving. Yes. I want to tell you something that I've never told anyone in this house. His voice was careful, not gentle. Lucian Vespera was not a gentle man, but precise in the way of someone making sure what he says cannot be misread. I suspected Bellini 2 years before you arrived in that courtyard. Something in the way the money moved, something in the way he moved around certain conversations. I could not build a case that would hold. My own organization had too many of his people in it. I absorbed this. So you've been waiting too, I said. Yes. 2 people building toward the same door from opposite sides. Yes. I looked at him. He looked at me. And I thought,
This is the moment, right here. This is where I have to decide who I am inside this story. The woman who has been alone with her purpose for 8 years, or something else. Something riskier. We have the letters, I said. Combined with my documentation, the art trail, the provenance records, we have enough to take to federal prosecutors. Enough to put Bellini away and clear the Vespera name from his transactions simultaneously. It can be surgical. It can be quiet. Lucian looked at the stack of letters. Quiet, he said, as if tasting the word. As quiet as my father's death was supposed to be. He looked up. In his eyes, I saw it. The thing that lives in people who have been carrying something heavy for so long, they have forgotten they're carrying it. The first small loosening. All right, he said. All right. Cerbero wandered in from the hall, looked at both of us, and lay down across both our feet with magnificent indifference to personal space. And for the first time since I walked into this house, I thought, we might actually survive this. Comment. Question. Aurelia came to this house to destroy the Vespera name and ended up fighting to protect it instead. At what point did you realize her mission had shifted? Tell me in the comments. The week before everything broke open was the quietest. That should have told me something. I know that now. Quiet in a Mafia house is not peace. It's pressure. The atmosphere before a structural collapse. The held breath of a building that has decided. I was deep in the work. The case we were building was layered and precise. My documentation from 3 years of art trail research, Lucian's correspondence archive, and a third piece I hadn't expected. Enzo, who turned out to have kept his own records, meticulous and informal, of transactions he'd observed that had never quite sat right with him. Ghost Ferraro, they called him, because he moved through the organization like a rumor. He had 23 months of receipts and informal notes tucked in a dead drop in the Bronx that he retrieved without ceremony and handed to me across the map table. "Been waiting for someone to build the right scaffold," he said. "Glad it's you." I liked Enzo. He was the kind of person who made loyalty look easy, which meant he'd probably bled for it more than once. Together, the 3 pieces of evidence formed something airtight. I spent 4 days assembling the final presentation, not for a courtroom, not yet, but for the federal contact Lucian had access to through a channel I didn't ask to understand completely. What I cared about was the strength of the document, every claim sourced, every transaction mapped. Every one of Bellini's false signatures distinguished from the real ones using provenance methodology that would hold under expert challenge. It was, honestly, the best work of my life. At night, I walked with Cerbero in the garden. Lucian had given me the code for the rear gate on the 4th day, another small expansion of the perimeter of my freedom, which I suspected was intentional and chose not to analyze too closely. The beast moved through the dark garden like a shadow that had decided to become solid, and I talked to him the way you talk to a dog, freely, without armor. "I'm in trouble," I told him one evening. He looked up at me with his gold coin eyes. Not the dangerous kind. The kind where you've been so certain about what you want for so long that when it changes, you don't have vocabulary for what you're feeling. Cerbero pressed his muzzle into my hand. "He's not what I thought he was," I said. "He's also exactly what I thought he was. And somehow both of those things are true at once." Cerbero sneezed. "Thank you. Very helpful." The doubts were real, though. I sat with them in the dark and gave them their proper weight. Lucian Vespera was not an innocent man. He had built and maintained an organization that dealt in violence, in territory, in the currency of fear.
The fact that he hadn't ordered my father's death didn't erase the other deaths. The fact that he was working to dismantle Bellini didn't make the years of his rule into something clean. And yet, he was also the man who had arranged my mother's care without being asked, who had handed me a knife in a courtyard rather than a command, who had come around the desk instead of across it, who had named me with my first name in a way that cost him something, who sat with old photographs at 2 a.m. and didn't pretend he wasn't carrying grief. The complexity of a human being is the most inconvenient thing in the world when you need them to be simple. On the 5th day of that quiet week, Enzo found me in the small library at 9 a.m. with an expression I hadn't seen on him before. He had a particular talent for neutral, the kind of face that gives nothing away, but something had cracked the surface of it. "We have a problem," he said. He put a phone on the table. On the screen, a message, encrypted, decoded, printed from a source I didn't ask about. 3 lines. "The Castellani woman is building against us. Bellini knows she's in the house. He's offering the Ferraro family, the rival syndicate, North Brooklyn, territorial concessions in exchange for moving on the Vespera estate in the next 72 hours. I read it twice. "He knows," I said. "Somebody talked," Enzo said. "Not many people knew the details, but enough." "How reliable is this source?" "Reliable enough that I'm standing here at 9 a.m. and not waiting for Lucian to wake up." I put the phone down. 72 hours. A rival syndicate. The Ferraro family. I knew the name, knew what it meant in terms of firepower and organizational will. Bellini had made a desperate move, which meant our case was closer to visible than we'd realized, which meant he was afraid. Afraid men do enormous damage. "We need to move the evidence," I said immediately. "The originals, the letters, my documentation, off-site, somewhere secure, tonight." Already thinking the same. "And Lucian needs to know. He's awake." Enzo picked up the phone. "He's known for 40 minutes. He sent me to tell you because he knew you'd want to think before you saw him." I looked at him. "He knows how you work," Enzo said. A pause. "He pays attention." I gathered myself, the internal architecture of composure that I'd been constructing since I was 17, and stood up from the table.
"The evidence goes out tonight," I said. "Then we stop waiting for Bellini to move. We accelerate the delivery. And if the Ferraros move first?" I thought of my father in his last moments. Emilio Castellani, who kept his records in pencil so errors could be corrected, who had died because someone else's error had been written in permanent ink against his name. "Then," I said, "we make sure they move into an empty house." Lucian was in the war room, which was what the East Wing parlor became when the maps came out and the phone started ringing in low, urgent tones, and Enzo stationed himself at the door. 2 of his most trusted men, faces I'd learned over the past week, moved in and out with the quiet efficiency of a machine running hot. He looked up when I walked in. Whatever he read in my face settled something in his own. "You've been thinking," he said. "We need to accelerate the federal contact, tonight if possible, tomorrow at the absolute latest. Already made the call." He held up a hand, not dismissively, but precisely, the way you pause a conversation that you need to then continue at full speed. "The package goes out at midnight. Secure courier, not digital. The federal contact has been briefed on what to expect and is prepared to move on it in 24 hours. Bellini will know the moment it lands. Yes, which gives us a window. A window where he'll try to destroy the originals. The originals will be gone by then.
He looked at me steadily. "I need you to be somewhere safe while that happens." I felt it, the pull of that, the specific warmth of being the person someone is trying to protect. I also felt the familiar, necessary resistance to it. "I need to be here," I said. "I'm the only one who can authenticate the documentation if the courier chain is challenged. I'm the provenance expert. I'm the primary witness to the assembly of the evidence. Removing me is removing the voice that makes the case hold." He knew I was right. I could see it. "You could be hurt," he said. Flat, direct, no performance in it. "So could you." "That's different." "Why?" The question landed between us like a stone in still water. He didn't answer immediately, and I knew, with the particular knowledge that comes from watching someone closely in a house over many days, that what he was doing was deciding how much of the truth to tell me and how much of himself to let be visible in the telling. "Because I decided that night in the courtyard," he said at last, very quiet, "when Cerbero rolled over for you. I decided, before I understood any of it, before the logic of it, before I knew who you were, I decided you were not going to be harmed in my house." I looked at him for a long moment. Lucian. His name in my mouth for the first time without the title. He registered it the way you register a key turning, not loud, but precise. "I came to this house to destroy your family," I said. "Or at least to take down the man who destroyed mine. I want to be honest with you about that." "I know." "And somewhere between Cerbero's belly and your 2 a.m. study and those letters, I stopped being certain which direction I was moving." He crossed the room, not in 3 strides this time, slowly, giving me the space to object, which I didn't. "I stopped being certain, too," he said. "Earlier than that, if I'm honest." We were standing very close. The war room, with its maps and its low, urgent business, felt very far away. "If this goes wrong," I said. "It won't." "If it does." "Then we deal with it." His hand came up and tucked a strand of hair back from my face, the gesture of a man who has been wanting to do something simple and true for a while and has finally given himself permission. Together. For once. Cerbero appeared in the doorway behind him, looked at the two of us, sat down with the expression of a dog who has been quietly engineering this situation for some time and is reasonably pleased with the result. I laughed, the same breathless, slightly past control laugh as the courtyard. It broke something that needed breaking. "Your dog," I said. "Our dog," Lucian said. And then, because this was not a man who kissed gently or tentatively or in any way that was less than completely intentional, he kissed me, one hand at my jaw, warm, steady, tasting of cedar and whiskey and the held breath of a man who has been deciding something for longer than he'd like to admit. I kissed him back, which is the only honest thing I can tell you about that moment, because everything else, the warmth of it, the specific relief of it, the terror, belongs to me. When we separated, Enzo was in the doorway next to Cerbero with a carefully maintained expression of a man who saw nothing.
"Midnight Courier is confirmed," he said, "and the Ferraro family has moved their people to the perimeter of the Brooklyn Bridge. They're not coming tonight." "Tomorrow," Lucian said. "Tomorrow. Then we have one night." He looked at me. "Let's use it well." We worked until 4 a.m, all of us together, in the war room that smelled of old maps and cold coffee and purpose. The evidence package, complete
cataloged, authenticated in my handwriting with my professional signature. The chain of provenance, unassailable. The federal contact, confirmed and ready. Somewhere around 2, Enzo fell asleep in his chair, and Cerbero climbed up next to him and refused to move. And Lucian and I stood side by side over the final version of the document and went through it, line by line, in low voices. And the work felt like something other than work. It felt like the opposite of alone. I thought, this is what my father wanted from his ledgers. Not just accuracy. This. Someone to read them with. At 4, I said, "It's done." Lucian looked at the document. "It's done. Whatever happens tomorrow, after tomorrow," he said. "We'll talk about what comes next, not before." I refused to have that conversation with a deadline in the room. I appreciated that more than I could say. "One more thing," I said. I reached into the folder I'd kept separate from the package, my personal archive, the original 3 years of my own work. I took out a single page and laid it on the table. "This is for you, not for the federal case. For you." He picked it up, read it. It was a copy of the transaction record, the original, unaltered ledger entry from the Vespera family accounts, showing Emilio Castellani's last months of work. Clean. Every column balanced, not a cent missing. The real record, before Bellini had replaced it. Lucian held the paper for a long time. "His name," I said. "In his own numbers. Clean." Lucian set the paper down carefully. He didn't speak, but his hand covered mine on the table, and he held on, and that was enough. More than enough. The morning of the next day was gray and very still. Lucian's trusted men had positioned themselves through the night. I didn't see this happen, but I felt the house change its posture the way a building does when it is seriously defended. The courier had gone out at midnight as planned. The evidence was in motion. The federal contact had confirmed receipt at 6:50 a.m. with a single word: proceeding. I was in the small library when Enzo's voice came over the radio. Calm, clipped, the voice of a man who runs hot underneath very cold training. "They're on the street. 4 vehicles. Bellini's in the 3rd. I heard Lucian's response from down the hall. "Hold positions. Nobody moves until I say." I stayed where I was, not because I'd been told to. Those instructions had been graciously not given. Because Lucian had learned me well enough by then to know I would do what was needed rather than what I was told. But because where I was useful. My phone rang. Unknown number, but I'd been given the contact string. I picked up. "Ms. Castellani," a federal voice, professional, brisk, with the particular dryness of someone who has been awake since 4 in the morning processing our evidence. "We've reviewed the package. We're prepared to execute. We need your verbal confirmation of the primary documentation." "Yes," I said. And then, for the next 12 minutes, I walked them through it. Every piece, every source, the methodology of the art trail documentation, the provenance chain, the correspondence letters and their embedded coding. My voice was level. My hands were steady. Outside, I could hear distantly the sound of cars. When I finished, the federal voice said, "Thank you. We're moving." The call ended. Down the hall, Enzo's radio crackled. "Bellini's out of the vehicle. He's moving on the front entrance." Then, a different sound. Not Enzo, not Lucian. A heavy, rhythmic crash. The front door hit by something larger than a shoulder. Multiple impacts. Then voices, men's voices, the controlled aggression of people who came prepared. And then, from the east corridor, from the direction of the library's connecting door, a sound I knew. Cerbero, moving at full speed. I heard the door at the end of the hall hit the wall. I heard the specific chaos of a very large animal who has identified a threat and decided to deal with it personally. I heard one man's voice cut off in a way that told me everything I needed to know about what Cerbero had found. Then, gunshots. 3. Very close. I was already moving. The east corridor was in chaos. 2 of Bellini's men down, 1 clutching a hand, Cerbero standing over them with his head low and his hackles raised, blood on his muzzle that I prayed was not his own. Lucian was in the main hallway, 4 feet from Marco Bellini, who had a gun leveled at Lucian's chest with the steady hands of a man who had been planning this moment for a long time. Bellini looked like what he was, a man who had spent years being patient about something he wanted and had finally allowed the patience to break. He was smiling, the soft, practiced smile that had convinced Lucian's father, that had convinced a generation of people who should have known better. "You built a case," Bellini said to Lucian. "Very thorough. Unfortunately, cases require witnesses." He moved the gun 2 degrees, toward me. Lucian moved immediately, the instinct of a man who had made a decision in a courtyard about what he would not allow. And in the same moment, Cerbero, reading the shift in Bellini's attention with a precision that no training could fully account for, launched. 180 pounds of animal between a bullet and 2 people. The shot went wide. Cerbero connected with Bellini's gun arm with the force of a vehicle, and Bellini went down hard, and the gun skittered across the floor. And by the time it stopped moving, Enzo had his boot on it, and Lucian had Bellini by the collar, and 3 of Lucian's men had appeared from the east entrance at a run. I went to Cerbero first. He was on his side, and my heart hammered so loud I couldn't hear anything else for a moment. And then his great ribcage moved, in, out, steady. And his gold eyes found me, and his tail thumped once against the marble floor. The shot had grazed his shoulder, not deep. He would need a vet, and he would be indignant about it, and he would recover. "You absolute idiot," I whispered to him, with my hands on either side of his scarred face. "You absolute, magnificent idiot." His tail thumped again. Behind me, I heard Bellini say, voice shaking for the first time, "You can't hold me. You have nothing that—" "The federal agents will be here in approximately 8 minutes," Lucian said. His voice was its usual temperature, the cold that means everything is decided. "The documentation is already in their hands. Your financial records, your correspondence, your arrangement with the Ferraro family, and a complete provenance map of every transaction you ran through this organization's name over 14 years. Ms. Castellani assembled it. I'd say she did it rather well." A silence. "Emilio Castellani," Lucian said, and his voice shifted just barely, just enough. "You remember him?"
Bellini said nothing. "He kept his records in pencil," I said from the floor, my hand still on Cerbero's head. "So errors could be corrected. Yours are going to be corrected now." The federal agents arrived in 7 minutes. Marco Bellini left the Vespera house in handcuffs, which was not the end I had imagined 8 years ago. I had imagined something more explosive, more cathartic, something that looked like justice feels in the movies. What it looked like in practice was quieter. A man in a suit being walked out a door. The machinery of consequence, grinding slow and then grinding fast. It was enough. It was more than enough. I sat on the floor of the corridor with Cerbero's head in my lap until the vet arrived, and I let myself feel it. 8 years of purpose,
arrived at its destination. The grief of it, and the relief of it, and the strange new openness in the middle of me where the purpose had lived, open like a window, like a room with the furniture moved out, waiting to see what would be placed inside it next. Lucian sat down on the floor next to me. Not a thing he did, I suspected, in front of other people. He didn't say anything. His shoulder was against mine. We sat like that while the house moved around us, agents and men and the organized, quiet aftermath of something enormous, and Cerbero breathed steadily in my lap. "Your father," Lucian said eventually. "His name is clean," I said. "That's what I came for." "Is it still all you came for?" I looked at him. The winter gray eyes, rain-colored, that had been the last thing I'd expected to find in this house. Depth. Honesty. A man who had been alone with something heavy for a very long time and had, in the space of 10 days, allowed someone to help him carry it. "No," I said. He took my hand, simply, no ceremony. "Good," he said. Outside, the Hudson was running its old dark course, black with centuries and current, carrying everything the city needed to release. The rain had stopped. Through the window at the end of the corridor, the sky was showing the first thin line of something lighter at its edge. Not quite dawn, but the decision to become dawn. Cerbero sighed deeply and fell asleep. And I thought, 8 years. I built toward this for 8 years. And what I found, at the end of all that building, what I found beyond the justice and the vindication and the cleaned name of a quiet man who kept his ledgers in pencil, was this. A dog who had decided I was safe. A man who had said, "our dog." A house that had made room for me. The beast had not been tamed. Neither had I, but we had both. Finally, stubbornly, in the way of things that have been alone too long, found our way to the same warmth. And that, my dark-hearted friends, is where the real story begins. Comment question. When Cerbero threw himself between the bullet and the people he loved, what did you feel? Because I felt everything. Comment below. So there you have it. Don Lucian Vespera and Aurelia Castellani, the woman who walked into the lion's den with 8 years of purpose and a gentle hand, and the man who had been waiting, without knowing it, for someone to scratch behind the walls he'd built as carefully as Cerbero's scarred ears. She played with the Mafia boss's deadly beast. She stole the heart of the beast who owned him. And what happened next? She stayed. Emilio Castellani's name was formally cleared 14 months after the federal case concluded. A quiet legal process, no headlines, just a correction in a record that had been wrong for too long. Aurelia had it framed. It hangs in the small library off the study, next to a photograph of a young man and a dog in a garden. Marco Bellini received 43 years. The Ferraro family, finding their territorial concession arrangement suddenly very public, fell into internal chaos that resolved itself, as these things tend to, without requiring Lucian's involvement. Enzo Ghost Ferraro was promoted. He was pleased. He also, apparently, had been keeping notes on that too. And Cerbero, who recovered from his shoulder wound with the stoic dignity of a creature who refuses to be made a fuss of, and then immediately demanded to be made a fuss of, continues to sleep at the foot of the bed. It's a very large bed. There's room. If this story found something in you, if you felt the rain on that courtyard, if you held your breath when the shot went wide, then you know where to find us. The subscribe button keeps the darkness coming and the stories alive. Drop a comment and tell me, which moment hit you hardest? The courtyard? The study at 2 a.m.? Or the floor of the corridor after everything? Stay in the shadows with me. The next story is already waiting.